Welcome to episode 72 of the Practice Squad, a show where we talk about football, shoot the breeze, and make even the replacement refs cringe. I'm your host and fourth string quarterback Jeremy, joined each and every week by my co-host and backup long snapper Joseph. How's it going, man?
A little nostalgic.
Yes, and I will foreshadow in a moment why that is the case. But we have been live right here on YouTube every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific. If you are logging in from Facebook or Twitter, you know why I'm saying we have been live. But I'll get to that in just a moment. And we're actually starting early tonight. So what do you know? For our last show, we're starting 15 minutes early. We should have started 15 minutes late just because that seems to be our MO. But we're early tonight. And part of the reason for that is because we've got a lot of stuff we got to cover tonight in addition to our normal show format. So buckle up. We got a bombshell for you tonight. So if you like what you hear and want to support us, don't hesitate to like, share, and if you're feeling extra generous, subscribe. It always helps the channel no matter what, and no matter what the future holds. And of course, you can like, share, and subscribe even if you think you could run this show better than us, which you might actually get the chance to do that. So this week, we're going to talk about Super Bowl 56, the end of the NFL season. We're going to talk about who wrecked face this week, the tricky pick tiebreaker that's on the docket. We've got a couple of special, very important special segments. We're going to round out our show with our final prediction record for the season and some major news about the future of the Practice Squad podcast. So without further ado, let's dive right into our first segment of the night, which is our game of the week, which is none other than the Super Bowl, since there was only one game. And I will say yet again that this was Bengals at Rams because they played in the Rams home stadium. The Rams pulled off a 23-20 victory, and it was a good game overall. Little bit of a lull in the middle, I think, but there was definitely there was a strong ending, some good plays, some and enjoyable. So let's get into our drive by drive here. So the Rams open up the game with a punt, and I don't. One thing I have never really understood is why teams just don't even try on third and long. But on third and 17, they run the ball, get stuffed. Then Bengals get the ball. They go for it on 4th and 1 at midfield, which I think was the right call. I think it's fine to be aggressive in this kind of game. And the ball is tipped and incomplete. So the Rams get the ball back. And their offense opens up a little bit after Cooper Kupp gets a good run and kind of cut along the sideline. And then Stafford completes a nice pass to Beckham in the end zone, a jumping catch in good coverage too. So the Rams take the first lead of the day, 7-0. Then that's followed by another pair of punts, and the Bengals at the end of the first quarter put together their first decent drive. They got a good run out of Mixon, which was pretty much the only good run of the day, or one of only 2 or 3 good runs of the day. The run games for both teams in this game were pretty lame. The yards per average was okay, but the total yards was, I actually think, let me pull up the stats, but I think the total number of rushing yards between each team was like 100 or something.
122.
Yeah, that's pretty low. That's
Yeah.
pretty low. So it was definitely more of a pass-heavy game. And even then, I wouldn't say that the passing game was explosive either. So then Burrow completes a 46-yard pass to Jamar Chase, who beats Jalen Ramsey, who was covering him the whole game.
Is that amazing catch? where he had several good catches, but was that one where he kind of had it one-handed and brought it in?
Are you talking about the lateral one? There was one where he had there was a lateral pass that he hooked in with one hand and
Okay,
then
maybe
got like 6 yards or something.
no. This was a deep pass to Chase. Great catch.
Oh, maybe it was one-handed. I don't remember it being one-handed. Maybe it was. It was his biggest catch of the day.
Okay, maybe it wasn't one-handed, but it was a difficult catch, and it was Chase played well today or that day.
Yeah, he did. He did. So then Ramsey kind of makes up for it by knocking away a good pass in the end zone, and it forces the Bengals to kick a field goal. So going into the second quarter, it is 7-3 Rams. Then Rams offense really gets rolling on this one. They didn't really get stopped at all. Stafford completes 35-yard pass to Beckham, then a 25-yard pass to Henderson, and then he rolls out and throws a touchdown pass to Cooper Kupp in the corner of the end zone. So Kupp's second touchdown of the game. But then the holder just completely botches the hold and the PAT's missed. So he ends up having to actually pick the ball up and make a pass for an attempt at a 2-pointer. And they obviously failed. So that made it 13-3 instead of 14-3. And then the Bengals respond, move the ball well, and end their drive with a trick play. It was a toss from Burrow to Mixon, who then a lateral toss, or whatever you call that when they throw it behind. And then Mixon rolled out and passed to Higgins in the end zone for a touchdown to make it 13-10 Rams. And then the next play...
Flea flicker?
I don't know if it was a flea flicker so much as it was just like a... You know the ones they kind of basket throw?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a flea flicker, because a flea flicker is when the quarterback hands it off to the running back and then he turns around and tosses it back to him.
Oh, is that what a flea flicker is?
I'm 95% sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a lateral or a pitch that was thrown.
Yeah. So then, it's 13-10 after that play. And then on the next drive was when Beckham got hurt. And I don't know. I actually haven't looked at the news since the game. I don't know what the severity of that injury was, but he went down. He was in obvious pain. It was a knee injury. He did not come back to the game after that. It was a non-contact injury on a turf field, which always sucks. There was just right away on social media, there were a host of players that were calling for the end of turf fields, which after the 49ers season last year, I definitely can empathize with. So Beckham was out for the rest of the game after that. And then on that same drive, Stafford decides to take a deep shot, but the defender gets in front and picks him off in the end zone. I don't know if that was so much Stafford's fault as it was just the route looked a little odd, and I felt like maybe the receiver should have slowed down a little bit and tried to get in front of the ball. It didn't really look like he tried to make a play on the ball or lost vision of where the ball was. So he wasn't even able to make a play on it. And so it gets picked off. And then the Rams defense.
Let me interject.
Yeah, go for it.
And I was thinking about Stafford's play, and you see the interceptions there, and we'll talk about the next one later. But that honestly just resulted in like a punt, like that. I wouldn't consider that a bad interception. Like third and long, they really have an option to get it anyways. They weren't going to kick a field goal there. That would have been too long of a field goal. They would have punted anyways, and it would have had to have been a really good punt and not be a touchback. It would have been a pooch kick. And so, even though it shows up for the box score as a full interception, that really is just kind of a punt. It wasn't really anything bad. So,
was that a third down play?
It was 3rd and 14, I believe.
Okay, yeah. I generally agree on those third and longs. If you just decide to chuck it, take a shot, and then it gets picked off, you're right. It just is. It's an interception.
And it was in the end zone. So so it would have been a tough punt, better than a regular touchback result, anyways.
Yeah. The only time when that's not excusable is when there's a wide open receiver that can move the sticks.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, those deep passes are designed to be that way, so they're looking for that guy deep downfield. So yeah, that ball gets picked, and then the Rams get a sack on third down, stop the Bengals, and then the Rams also punt, and the Bengals kneel, so that the half closed out 13-10. Rams up by 3. And then one of the 2 most controversial plays of the game happened to start the second half. Joe Burrow, very first play of the half, throws a 75-yard touchdown pass to Higgins.
Yep.
And on the replay, there was a very obvious face mask on Ramsey that was not called, that should have been, and that would have wiped away the touchdown. But there was no flag at all, so it couldn't be, the refs couldn't even look at it. There's nothing to do about it, and the Bengals go up 17-13. And it was funny because they showed the faces of the coaches and stuff after the play, and even the Bengals coach was just like stunned after the play. He's like, couldn't believe that had happened. So yeah, I was disappointed about that. And there was a play later that we'll talk about, a flag later, that ended up being pretty controversial. I don't know if I agree with how controversial people think it is, but to me, that was the most flagrant missed call of the game. And especially considering the impact that it had on the game.
Glad that didn't result in the Bengals winning. Not a problem with the Bengals winning, but I'm glad that play did not result in winning.
Yes, I completely agree. And then, let's see. Oh yeah, so in the first 22 seconds of the half, the Bengals score their touchdown, and then the Rams get the ball back, and Stafford throws another pick. This time, not his fault. The ball just bounces off the hands of the receiver, and it's picked off. So it was a catchable ball. It wasn't the best throw, but it was a catchable ball, tipped and picked off. So in a matter of 22 seconds to start the half, the Bengals got a touchdown and an interception.
Which, by the way, that I would not give full credit to Stafford on that one. He was a little ahead of him, but not too much.
Yeah.
I would say he gets like 0.5 to 0.7 at the worst.
I agree. Yeah, I think both of his interceptions were neither of them were bad. Like we already talked about the punt, and then the second one was this tipped pass. So yeah, I wouldn't say that either of those were flagrant. So then the Bengals decide to go for it again on 4th and 1 after the interception, and this time Burrow runs and actually gets the first down. I think that was the only, let me look at the team stats, but I think for 4th down efficiency, the Bengals actually went for it. Oh, that's right, because they went for it at the end of the game and didn't get it. That's right. So at this point, they're 1 for 2 on 4th down. But I guess the Rams punt again, then the Bengals march down. Donald gets a sack and forces a field goal, so it's now 20-13 Bengals. And then the Rams try to run their own trick play with a Cooper Kupp pass, but it was not accurate, way too high and incomplete. So
he's too good at catching the ball, not throwing.
Yes, agreed. And so they kick a field goal, so it's now 20-16 Bengals. And then starting off the 4th quarter, Burrow gets hurt, and luckily he was okay enough to come back. He didn't miss any time. They didn't have to bring him in a backup or anything, but he did get hurt. It looked like it might be serious at first. Fortunately, he was healthy enough to come back. I also haven't heard if that ended up being something serious afterwards or not. I don't think so. I think that would have been. I think I would have seen that news if it was bad. Then, oh yeah, Tyler Boyd drops a easily catchable pass on the run, and it forces a punt. That was a bad moment. The Bengals could have picked up some momentum there. And as it turns out, they never scored again. They never scored in the fourth quarter. And that was their chance. And then the Rams steal back all the momentum when they convert on a 4th and 1 at midfield with a Cooper Kupp run. So I guess he made up for his terrible pass with that first down conversion. And then the Rams are now at the 20, at the Bengals 20, at the 2-minute warning, around the 20. I don't remember exactly what it was. And this is when the second major controversial call happened, and I really want to know your thoughts on this, Joseph, after watching the highlights. The pass to Cooper Kupp that was batted down by Logan Wilson, and then there was the holding call.
Yeah, 50 or 55, yeah.
So, first, did you feel like that flag was fair?
From the replay that I saw, yeah.
Okay.
He looked to have his left hand on his backside as he was coming across with his right hand to block the ball.
So, yeah, I agree with you. And I'll try to be fair to the people that had concern about this. I think the issue that people had was not that call itself was bad, although I think some people thought that, and I disagree with those people. I think the issue that most people had was that there were other plays like that in the game that were not called. So they were upset at the inconsistency. And I have to agree, I felt like there was inconsistent refereeing in this game. The fact that like 90% of the flags came out in the last 2 minutes of the game when there were clearly other things that weren't called earlier in the game is not consistent at best. And so that's always unfortunate for the team that's on the receiving end of those flags, in which case it happened to be that the Bengals received most of those flags. In terms of penalties, the Bengals had 4 penalties accepted against them, and the Rams only had 2. So you can argue all day about how, well, the Ramsey no face mask call, made up for the calls later. I don't like thinking like that. Although there's clearly been times in games where you can tell the refs will like throw a makeup flag later for something that they blew earlier, but I didn't feel like that was this. I just thought that the calls were inconsistent. So that, unfortunately for the Bengals, that meant that it moved the Rams to the 1-yard line, and then Stafford completes a touchdown pass to Kupp. So I feel like I've said 3 touchdown passes for him so far, and he only had 2. So who is the... Oh, Beckham was the first one. Sorry. And then Cooper had the next 2. So this last one was Kupp. And that gave the Rams a field goal lead over the Bengals. And at this point, you're thinking that missed extra point hurt bad because the Bengals had a 1:25 left and 2 timeouts to kick a field goal. And that's a dangerous spot to be in. And they do get to midfield. And then there's a series of plays which were interesting. There was a 3rd and 1 run that Donald saved by kind of sitting down on the ground and pulling the guy back away from the chains. And then on 4th and 1, which was the Bengals' last chance, a kind of funny thing I'll say in a second about that. Burrow throws while being hit and the pass is incomplete. I thought the receiver could have maybe made a little bit more effort to try to dive for it, considering that was the Super Bowl on the line there. It looked like he just sort of like leaned down to try to get it and didn't. obviously it was an emergency ball, so I don't really blame anybody, but except for the O line. But it was, I would have liked to have seen more effort. The funny thing that happened was I visited my family for the Super Bowl. We went to my parents' house, and I was talking to my dad about something else um, right before that play happened, the final, the 4th and 1 play. And then the 4th and 1 play happened, and I was just watching like the game was just continuing. And then all of a sudden I saw Aaron Donald run out onto the field
Yeah.
pointing to his finger like he had just gotten a ring. I was like, wait, what just happened? And then they showed the replay that it was 4th and 1. I was like, oh, the game's over. Okay. So the game was over and I wasn't even aware. Uh, so
So
that was it. That was it with 39 seconds left. The turnover on downs and the Rams won.
I really wish that if this was on the longer version that we saw replays from different angles, see if the wide receiver had a legitimate chance or not. Because from the angle that they showed in the game, it was not a very good angle. So, but it did look like he could have made a better effort to go for it then. But I wish I would have seen different angles because, yeah, if he did not like dive for the sake of the game on that, then kind of shame on him. But how amazing it was that Burrow like actually made a legit effort there and threw it in the guy's direction. He's fun 360.
How many times have we seen like Russell Wilson complete passes like that?
or Mahomes.
Yeah, or Mahomes. Yeah, so he got unlucky on that one. And to be fair, a receiver looking at that situation probably thought he was going to get sacked. So he may not have been fully ready. He should have been, but he may not fully have been ready for it. So that may
Yeah.
have been why he didn't dive for it. But yeah, that was a rough end. I can understand. If I had been a Bengals fan, I think I would have just sort of been sitting there in shock for a little while, like not even sure what just happened. Um, and obviously for the Rams, it was a strong defensive finish to the game. And I wanted to point out, I already pointed out, there were two things I wanted to point out about the game. One was that the flags were inconsistent. I'm not going to go so far as to say that the wrong team won or the outcome should have been different based on the flags, but uh, the calls were inconsistent. And we've just seen calls be inconsistent too many times in the playoffs. It's just happened too many times. They need to get it right. The second comment I was going to make was that Burrow got sacked 7 times in this game, and he got sacked 9 times against the Titans. It is amazing that they even got this far given how porous that O-line is. So if it wasn't clear before the postseason what the Bengals' priority is in the offseason, it is now. You got to think that if their O-line had been a little bit stronger, they probably would have won this game. So that's rough. That's always rough. But credit to the Rams for applying pressure at the end. Credit to Aaron Donald for sealing the game, and obviously Von Miller had 2 sacks in this game, so that trade ended up being a big deal. And Beckham had a touchdown. So all those guys that they brought in this season both ended up being big playmakers in the offseason or in the postseason. So I remember I texted you, Joseph. It was right after the Beckham trade. I said it's going to be kind of embarrassing if they don't win the Super Bowl after all of the moves that they've made to basically win now.
Oh, and I don't know if that's not um gosh, Von Miller, who was big in this
Yes.
game.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I just mentioned him. Yeah, he had 2 sacks and had a huge impact in this game. Um, so what did you have any kind of overarching thoughts about the game or I guess just the postseason in general?
Uh, this was probably one of the better postseasons, post games, exciting games. As for this game, I just want to talk quickly about MVP. There wasn't a super clear choice. Maybe they could have given it to the Rams defense, like they did. They think they gave it to the Denver defense that one year. But Stafford and Cup played well enough kind of to balance that out. But Cup did make some really big catches on the last one or two drives. So and Stafford, even if you take out the effective interceptions, played well enough to I think probably get it. But Cup did play well enough. So I don't have gripe. If any of those three won, Cup, Stafford, or Rams defense would have won, I don't think it would have been an issue. I think maybe Stafford has the slight edge because as the quarterback, but Cup was definitely big for them. So that's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, I pretty much am on the same page as you. I learned after the game that apparently the ballots are due at the 2 minute warning. So the media are all rushing to write their post game reports, their post game articles, and also vote while the game's still going on without the data from the last 2 minutes. And I think, I still think it was fair that Cup got it, but given Aaron Donald's kind of impact in the last couple of minutes, I also wouldn't have been furious if he had won it either. But I agree. I think probably giving it to the defense as a whole would have been better because you got other guys like Von Miller that also had an impact. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I think that was fair. Just they need to change that system because there definitely things can happen in the last 2 minutes that warrant MVP. I mean, think about if the Chiefs-Bills game had been the Super Bowl, right? Like that would have definitely changed your thinking in the last 2 minutes. So that would be nice if they changed that. So let's move on to our second segment, which is Who Wrecked Face this week. So there weren't any offensive players that I felt like dominated, but I did want to shout out Cooper Kupp, his 8 receptions for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns because he did have a big impact on the game. And then I also wanted to shout out T. Higgins, who obviously had the 75-yard touchdown pass, and then he had another touchdown pass, 4 receptions for 100 yards. That one comes with an asterisk because of the penalty, so it's sort of a pseudo pick. But I got slim pickings anyway because there's just one game. And then I'm being generous since this is our last wrecked face. And then I picked up Aaron Donald, who had four tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 tackles for loss. I did notice that Von Miller also had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass defended. So they would have been good choices. I think just the defense as a whole did a really good job. If you take away that 70-yard touchdown pass, which should have been called back, Bengals didn't really have a whole lot of offense in this game. I thought the Rams locked them down pretty well. So, and then you had one pretty obvious got wrecked from this game.
Yeah, that's the Rams rushing. So no touchdowns, 23 for 43. That's 1.9 average. Longest rush was 8 yards. If you get rid of their 3 top rushes, they had 8, 7, and 7. They were 20 for 21.
Oof.
But yeah, they were shut down there. Yeah, that's Super Bowl.
All right, and then our third segment is commentators say the darndest things. We have not had this for a while, but I did have one because how can I not? So in the game, Chris Collinsworth said, "In a pressure situation, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone better than Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp."
No, just I'm
no.
glad. I'm glad I didn't. I only watched it and didn't listen. Ever? He's never like maybe this season, okay, but never.
Yeah, Chris Collinsworth, who's been around the league for 400 years, has never seen a duo be better in pressure than Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, who have only been together for 1 season.
Oh,
There's
man.
just a shockingly, objectively false statement that took everyone off guard.
Yeah.
So, All right, so let's do our tricky pick tiebreaker. I actually don't remember what the tie-breaking pick was, so you'll be the one to break the news for who won this season.
All right. So let me start off with we tied on the other ones. I'll just go over those. So will there be a fourth quarter comeback in the last 7 minutes? We both said yes. We got that right. Will the lead change at least 3 times in the second half? We both said yes, and we got that wrong. How many field goals from 43 plus yards will be made? We both said 3. We got that wrong. There were 0. Will Burrow and Stafford have more rushing touchdowns than interceptions? We both said no, and we got that right. And then the tiebreaker, give us the winner. Will Burrow and Stafford combine for 5+ touchdowns and 550 passing yards? They did neither, and I was correct.
All right. Well, Joseph, we will crown Joseph the winner of Tricky Picks for the 2021 season, which means that you were 29. Well, how many picks did we have total this week? It was
5.
5. So you were 3 and 2. Is that right? And I was 2 and 3.
Yes.
Okay. So I ended 30 and 37, and you ended 31 and 36. So congratulations. You are the Tricky Picks winner.
Who won last year?
Did we have Tricky Picks last year?
Yeah, that was the first year.
Oh, I actually don't have that in my notes. I should have put that in. I don't remember who won last year. So I'll have to dig that up. But yeah, I don't know. You won this year. So congratulations. Okay, so our fifth segment, by the way, there are going to be 8 segments tonight. So our fifth segment is rumors and news. We wanted to talk about some of the trade rumors, trade ideas, coaching news, etc. So I'll just run down a couple of big hitters, and then we'll start the discussion. I think it's going to be probably end up being centered around 1 or 2 things. But Mike McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for the Niners, got hired as the new head coach of Miami.
Boo. Flores should not have been fired.
I agree. And that was the second thing I was going to say, which is the whole lawsuit thing and the alleged paying coaches to lose games, which I guess has happened or is alleged in other cases as well. I haven't heard any follow-up to that, any journalistic follow-up to that, so I think that's just being investigated. So I'd rather not say anything for an ongoing investigation because I haven't really, we just don't know the facts yet. By the way, Sean in chat said, congratulations, Joseph, for winning Tricky Picks. So,
thanks, Sean.
So, yeah, and then the Saints hired a new head coach. So Sean Payton's his statement that he's taking a break or whatever, that he was telling the truth. He may come back at some point. I don't know, for someone else, but they have a new head coach this season. So I think the main thing that we wanted to talk about was quarterback trades and somewhat about Jimmy, and then also to see if there was any rumblings about Rodgers and Wilson, who there have been a variety of reports on them potentially being good trade candidates. Before we launch into discussion, I'll just preface by saying that there have been, in the last week or so, there's been an increasing sentiment amongst, NFL pundits, journalists, people, that Rodgers and Wilson are more likely to stay put than not.
I don't believe that for Rodgers. I don't believe Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm more skeptical of Rodgers. I can definitely see Wilson staying. What I don't see is Wilson and Pete Carroll staying. I think they're going to have to make some kind of shakeup. based on how just disappointing they've been for a while now. Um, because they're making the playoffs, except for this year. They're making the playoffs, but they're not a Super Bowl roster. I mean, they're not even close to that. And so they've just been getting knocked out early for years now, and I think they're in like pseudo rebuild purgatory right now, which is kind of where the Dolphins were like 3 years ago. So I would that situation is weird. I think there are some good options for Wilson. Uh, I mean, there's some very dangerous options for Wilson, like if the Bucks picked him up, or if the Steelers picked him up, like he could turn those teams right around into Super Bowl contenders. So what do you, if he did, let me pose it this way. If Wilson did get traded, who would you say are the 1 to 2 most likely or fitting candidates?
So let me back up and first start off with the two possibilities that could happen. I mean, obviously they keep him and they don't, but if they keep Wilson because they're in this like pseudo we're good but not great, they need to make huge efforts into throwing like basically getting the players on that team Super Bowl ready in the next year or two at the latest. I don't know if they have the capital, draft or money wise to do that, but they have to do that. If they can't, don't want to do that, they need to trade Wilson because Wilson still has decent trade stock. And then basically start over. Now, whether they do that with Pete Carroll or not, I have no idea. I'm not going to discuss that, but that's their option. So if they trade him, dude, I like the Steelers, man. I mean, the Steelers have offensive weapons. They're not the best, but they have a great defense, right? They play in a competitive division, and I don't think the Colts will really get to them too much. And dude, having him and Lamar Jackson and Burrow in the same division, that's pretty epic. That's pretty epic. That'd be really exciting. I mean, he's it would be now. Yes, I know. I can imagine what you're thinking, feeling, but like it would be similar to when he first played on the Seahawks, where he has a great defense and a good enough offense, and he's not relied upon as much. I think he would thrive where he's a better quarterback than he was back then, but he's also not as mobile. Look, it's a wash. Not relied upon as much, and having the offense, the receivers, weapons that they have, I think him and Claypool would be a great. And I think is it Johnson or Johnston?
Deontay Johnson
would be a good pairing, and then that defense. I mean, they would be a Super Bowl contender, and them and the Rams, sorry, not them and the Ravens, duke it out. So I think the Steelers are great fits. The Bucks are a good fit. Wow, I can't believe I thought crossed my mind. The Dolphins actually came to mind, but I think that was just a passing thought. So, I don't want to trade for Russell Wilson because I wouldn't want to win Russell Wilson. That would just feel wrong. The Bucks are a great fit, but I don't know. I'm gonna stick with no one feels a little better.
I think that's not a bad assessment. Wilson now the flip side of the coin is, would Wilson want to go to the Steelers? Or would he maybe want to go to a division that's a little bit less quarterback heavy? I don't know. I don't know how much quarterbacks think about that, to be honest. But if he was to go to like Washington or a team like that where they have a good amount of pieces and a solid defense, but they've been missing a quarterback for a while, like he may be more interested in a system like that where his presence elevates the team rather than either continuing the success or just sort of maintaining a team. I think that somewhat comes down to just what where do you want to be at this point in your career? I don't see him going to a rebuilding team, but I do see him uh, being open to if a team like Washington was to pick up the phone. There were some rumors tying him to the Giants for a while. That makes no sense. The Giants, he would never go to the Giants. And yeah, I think the Seahawks do need to try to do whatever they can to put together their roster with him while he still has value. Now Rodgers, obviously we've heard so many reports about his discontentment in Green Bay. This year really felt like a win or leave year. And they had their loss to the Niners in the division game. Obviously, they fell short of what they wanted to do this season. Do you see Rodgers getting flipped to another team? What do you think his value is? What makes the most sense?
So I think Rodgers and Adams are to go together. Adams a free agent. Rodgers is not. The thing is, it's very difficult to see Rodgers and Adams staying together in Green Bay. If that's the case, then where Adams goes, Rodgers will want to go. But they're going to be working that out together among themselves. And they got to be thinking, obviously, now here's the thing. I don't want to throw with time, but there's also the Kyler Murray stuff going on, if you've seen.
Yeah, I have.
So I'll just quickly say them going to Arizona would actually, that would actually be easy. That'd be a good swap. To swap Rodgers and Murray, that's a complete. In fact, the Packers win that trade because of longevity and all that. So if they swapped, and then the Cardinals sign Devontae Adams, boom, there you go. Ignoring that, I think the Bucks is a good fit, and the Bucks would have to send over 2 receivers and some draft picks. The receivers would be a concession for losing Adams, so as a free agency, and then they'd have to send over picks to help compensate for draft for quarterback. And then maybe the Packers take that and throw that in to get Wilson. Right. Take those picks and whatever, try to get Wilson. So I'll just
I'm starting to lose you a little bit. It's getting a little bit choppy.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I haven't done anything.
Okay, say something real quick.
Hello.
Okay. I'm a little worried there might be some lag now, but we'll go forward a few more sentences and see how it turns out. If not, we'll just hang up on Skype and restart the call. So I'll respond to what you said. And hopefully by the time I'm done, the network will level off. So Rodgers to the Cardinals is not something I had thought of at all. I don't think the Cardinals want to move on from Murray. That seems like a premature thing. I think if he was to regress next season, then maybe. But I think with the success that they had, obviously he played poorly towards the end of the season. They kind of fell apart. But I think it depends how next season goes. I don't think they would want to move on from him for another season. I don't think that would be a straight up trade. I think the Cardinals would have to give more than just Murray to get Rodgers. Even though Murray has the longevity, Rodgers is better, and the Packers would be losing more value. So Murray would have to come along with something. But I don't know. I think I think the Packers really want Rodgers to stay. I just think that Rodgers is frustrated with how close they've come so many times and how they've just fallen short so many times that a fresh outlook would do wonders, just like it did for when Brady went from the Patriots to the Bucks. Everybody thought Brady was done, and then he comes into the Bucks and has 2 career seasons and wins a Super Bowl. So,
and got oh, never mind.
So I just Rodgers will be expensive, and I think the Bucks have the most trade capital to be able to afford someone like Rodgers. Of all the teams we've talked about, I think the Bucks have the most trade capital. The Steelers might have a similar amount. I don't think they've done any major trades in the last couple years, so I think they have all their first round picks, second round picks, etc. Yeah, so I feel like we keep one theme, I guess, that we keep talking about is for all these quarterbacks, and we're going to talk about Jimmy in a second, the Steelers and the Bucks keep coming up in every discussion. I think Washington should also come up in a discussion because I think they're actually better than people think. They've just had bad quarterback play. So I think they might be looking for something.
Say that again. Who?
The Washington Commanders. You know, let's go ahead and I'm going to axe our Skype call and I'll call you back.
Oh, okay.
This connection's just not working right now.
We're lagging, huh?
That and also you were still breaking up. So can you hear me now? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Say something? Oh boy.
I can hear you.
That's even worse than before. Well, it says I have an excellent connection on my end, but who knows what that means. Say something again, Joseph?
Have a good connection.
Okay. But so you can hear me though? Hello? Okay, so don't type anything, just talk. So, can you hear me?
Nothing has changed between, like, you sound fine.
Okay, but when I say can you hear me, I'm trying to figure out if there's lag or not. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe we're okay then. So, you asked who I was referring to, and I said the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, that's. I don't know if I want to go there, unless. I don't know. I don't think that's one worth discussing, to be honest. I think Steelers and Bucks are the only ones that deserve our time.
Okay, now
maybe the Packers one I talked about. If there's a 3-way.
Yeah, that would be crazy if there was a 3-way trade. Okay, so I wanted to switch gears and just talk about Jimmy for a minute. We don't have to go into all the scenarios or whatever, but I think Jimmy is the Niners are looking to trade him, and I think they can get something decent back for him, but there was a report that came out that I guess Washington would consider giving a first round pick for him. And you know, I think the Bucks, I honestly, the more I think about it, I don't see him going to the Bucks. I think the Bucks they need someone who can throw downfield. I think he just comes with too many limitations. I don't think Arians is going to want to go from Tom Brady to Jimmy Garoppolo. Excuse me. So I don't think that's all that realistic. I think Washington is actually potentially a really good place for him to land, and I think the Steelers is another team that could use someone like him to at least as a bridge quarterback. Maybe if they draft someone or look for someone else, because this season is just not. It's not a good quarterback draft, and if Rodgers and Wilson end up staying put, then the value for Jimmy is only going to go up because he's one of the few actually available guys on the market. So, and there are teams that need a quarterback. So I think I think the Niners will get probably better value for him than they would have gotten last year. But there's a limited number of teams that would actually get better if they signed him, and I think that's where the limitation comes from.
I think the best team is going to be the Steelers because they're losing Big Ben.
Yeah, I looked at their stats, and they're almost identical from last season. So take that for what it's worth. Big Ben was not very good this last year.
Yeah. But having a younger Jimmy G, who might just be better in a new system versus an aging, retiring Big Ben. Yeah. And
yes.
Jimmy won't cost too much because I think the Steelers are more than happy to give away a second rounder or however much it'll cost. I'm not saying he's worth that much. He is. They're going to be happy to give that away considering that they have the defense and the receivers. So I think Steelers are an easy pick there.
Yeah, I could see like maybe second and a player or third and a player or something in their case.
Ooh, second and a player seems pretty high. But third and a player, that's how we're talking, I think.
Well, I think for them, the value is jacked up when you factor in what's their alternative.
That's fair. The Niners definitely have leverage. And unless the Steelers want to go big with someone else, then.
So, okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it. All I had for the rumors and news. Was there anything else you wanted to cover, Joseph?
For that stuff, really quickly, do you think the Browns keep Mayfield? Do something.
I think they'll keep him one more season.
Okay. They have to win a playoff game.
Yes.
That's the own criteria.
Yes.
Okay. So this next segment, wanted to do a little interview segment, right? Interview Jeremy, ask him just random questions. He has no idea what I'm going to ask. And I have a list of questions that I'm going to ask, but that also may change in the middle of the stream. So really quick, just to give us on a time sake, our last segment, how long do you think spend on our last segment? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
Give us 5. I mean, the predictions is going to take like a minute and a half or something, and then I think our last segment will probably be like 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll meet you in the middle and do the thinking that you need to do, but we'll try to go at a reasonably quick pace for these, and I'll try to spit out a bunch of these.
Okay, I'll buckle up. Here we go.
All right, buckle up. Outside of J.J. Watt, is Aaron Donald the greatest defensive lineman you've ever seen play? You don't necessarily have to answer it from a career perspective, maybe a peak, maybe 1 or 2 year peak period, but yeah. Justin Smith.
I was thinking about him actually, but you know, maybe that's tough because I feel like It's funny that you brought up Justin Smith, actually, because I wouldn't say Justin Smith's not better than Aaron Donald, but he has a different kind of talent, I think. Aaron Donald is a safe answer to that question. Nobody else quickly comes to mind. Now, keep in mind, I've only really been watching football for 11 years. So that limits the window of who I've seen. But I think Aaron Donald's fair.
Okay. Is Cooper Cup season considered a top?
I'm losing you again. Breaking up again. Let's see.
Hello?
Audio bitrate. Yeah, I'm getting a little warning on the YouTube side. Let's check. Am I dropping frames right now? No. It's not like it. It wouldn't be our last show if we didn't have some tech issues, specifically audio issues. So, let's see. Say something again.
Hello.
Okay, that's okay. So, ask your question again.
Is Cooper Cup's considered top 5 all time?
And is this including the playoffs or just the regular season?
Just regular season.
Okay. I'm refreshing myself of his numbers right now. I'm just looking him up.
I think he has the record for yards, though that's with an extra game, but it's still like top 3 about the extra game. And then I think he has most receptions as well, but it'll be top 3.
Wait, 1947 is the record?
I think so. I think that broke the record of Johnson. I think Johnson had. Where's it Jones?
Nobody's ever gotten over 2,000?
No.
Wow, so we've had a 2,000-yard rusher, but not a 2,000-yard receiver?
Yeah, we've had multiple 1,000-yard rushers.
That's kind of crazy. I would not. That's not intuitive. I mean, if he truly does have the record for the most yards, then yes, I would say he had a top 5 season of all time. He had 16 touchdowns, 145 receptions, which is just monstrous.
So he is second all time behind Calvin Johnson. And even if you got rid of his extra game, he would still be top 5. And then he is second all time for receptions, and he would still be top 5 or 7-ish. Got rid of his extra game and the 16 touchdowns. So
yeah, so probably what, like 4th or 5th then? Something
in
there? I'll say yeah.
What is the best Super Bowl you've ever watched?
Not the Niners Chiefs or the Niners Ravens, I can tell you that. I remember the Saints Colts one being really exciting, but I don't remember it all that well. So I'm not going to say that one. It's probably going to be either the Patriots Eagles or let's see, or the Patriots Seahawks.
Okay.
So I'll give it to Patriots Seahawks because of the end zone interception.
Okay. Not running the ball.
Yeah, not running the ball.
Okay. Where do you see the Bengals and Rams next year, like with their achievement into the playoffs or not? Best and worst case scenario for each. Reasonable best and worst case scenario for each team.
um, I think the Rams are 12-5 this season. I think they are. I think that record is a pretty fair record for them. So I would be surprised to see them more than plus or minus one win from that. The Bengals.
Do they have any major birds?
Any major what?
People leaving?
I don't know about that. um, Obviously they're still going to have Stafford, Cup. I think they still have Robert Woods next season.
Beckham?
I don't know about Beckham. I think they have Miller. They have Donald. They have Ramsey. I think. So I think they've got most of their studs locked away. The Bengals are
really quick for the Rams though. Playoffs though. Best worst like where do you?
Oh,
I guess you can do both regular season and.
I mean, I think they'll. I think the Rams are probably favored to win the division again. And I can see them winning another playoff game or two. I don't think they'll win another Super Bowl. I think it took some, just like it took the Niners some magic to get as far as they got. I think it took the Rams a little bit of magic too. That win over the Bucks was that was a little bit of an anomaly. So I don't think they're going to win another Super Bowl, but I think they might get to another championship game next year. And then the Bengals are. They'll be good. They'll get to the playoffs again. I don't know if they'll win the division. I think the Ravens might come back on that one. But I think they're kind of tough to read. Because it was really unexpected that they got this far given Burrow coming back from injury and everything. So I definitely see them being another 10 or 11 win team. Like they're definitely good enough for that. But as far as the playoffs, I don't see them getting to another Super Bowl. I think either the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens or maybe even the Titans are probably going to get it because I think they're just. Or yeah, maybe the Chargers. I think those teams just punch a little bit harder. And let's be honest, the Bengals win over the Chiefs was also crazy improbable too. So there was definitely some magic for both of these teams to get as far as they did. So I don't see either of these teams in the Super Bowl next year, but I see them both making the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs, sorry, the Bengals, like even if they shore up their offensive line, so without even shoring up their offensive line, they'll playoff team do that. If they do that, they're a contender. But I think they'll still need a playmaker. Like Burrow will be good. He'll develop. Chase, great. Higgins stuff. But they'll need either like go after TJ Watt or something. They'll need a big defensive playmaker, or like a top running back really break through to with Allen and Mahomes and Jackson and so forth.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
All right. Will Tom
Will he come out of retirement? Is that the question?
Hold on. Yes, but there's a caveat to this one. So, will Tom Brady come out of retirement to play one more year for the Pats in 2 years if Mac is bad next year?
And how many gallons of pistachio ice cream will he eat between now and then?
Tell me
Um,
his
um,
the Mac is just atrocious. Let's say the defense looks good, run game looks good. Mac is just terrible, and I'm not talking about likelihood of the Bucks, Patriots. I was thinking Bills, like Bill Belichick, but the Patriots reaching out, but more so just like Brady, their willingness, or like the fact that it would happen.
no, I don't think there's any way that Brady would come back in 2 years. I think this would have had to have been like Mac was terrible last year after 2 years of playing, and then Brady came back this season. I think if Brady stays out of the league next year, if he doesn't like reverse on his retirement, he'll be gone for good. I don't think there's any scenario where he comes back in 2 years, no matter who calls him.
Okay. All right, man. Last question. Ready?
I'm ready.
What are your two most favorite Niner moments?
Oh. Kyle Williams fumbling the punt in the Giant. No.
Favorite, not miserable.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of miserable, but those are the ones that come to mind the fastest. I don't tend to think about the other ones as much. And by moment, do you mean like a single play or like the end of a game or something?
I'll let you answer however you want to answer.
Okay, sure. Well, let me just spout off a few. I'll have to kind of talk out loud for a second. I won't take too long. The Niners, the comeback against the Falcons in the NFC Championship game in 2012. The field goal win over the Packers in the wild card round in 2013 when they traveled on the road and ended up losing to the Seahawks in the championship game. That win against the Packers was really epic. And then obviously I'll never forget the Alex Smith running touchdown against the Saints in the 2011 divisional game in the shootout with Breeze. And then last play, there are more, but the game-sealing pass to George Kittle in the 46-42 win over the Saints, 48-46, I think, win over the Saints in the 2019 regular season, where he bowled over like 6 guys to get them in field goal range for the game-winning field goal. That was a memorable moment. Yeah, those would be up there. I don't know if I'll rank them, but those are up there.
Can I add one more possibly?
Go for it.
What about Cap's epic rushing performance against the Packers to get the Super Bowl? They beat the Packers in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. That was amazing. That was amazing too. I wasn't thinking about that. Yeah, there's probably lots that I'm not thinking of, but yeah, that's definitely up there too. Cool. Well, I like that. I like that as the final question. Okay, so segment 7, just quick overview of our final prediction records for the 2021 season. Joseph and I both picked the Rams for the Super Bowl, so we ended up tied at 178, 106, and 1, which is 62.7%. Not shabby, not too shabby. For both of us, it was worse than last year, and better than, well, for me, it was better than 2019. For you, it was slightly worse, but good season overall. I thought I had fun with our picks, but I also had fun with our ESPN picks too. That whole system was fun. I enjoyed doing that with you. We didn't really talk about that on the show, but that was just kind of a side thing. We did a side hustle that was fun. So I enjoyed that. So our final segment is our practice squad finale, and I'll say it to make it official now because I've been alluding to it. So if you've been listening, you'll know what I'm about to say. But tonight is the final episode of the Practice Squad podcast. Joseph and I have been doing this show for 4 seasons, for 4 years. It's felt like a lot longer than that, partly probably because Joseph and I have been, we've shared football together for a very long time, ever since college, ever since during college, and it's just this show has been a big part of our lives. It's been a really fun project to work on, and we've just been talking recently, and I'll let Joseph give whatever specifics he wants to give, but we decided that the best path forward was to kind of close up shop at the end of the season and to move on to bigger and better things for next year. And I don't know what the future holds for either of us. I don't, obviously none of us can say that for sure. I, for one, don't know whether I'm going to try to make a new podcast of sorts, football related. I do want to do something football related, to fill this void. I have no idea what it'll be. I'm gonna have to brainstorm with that, but luckily we got a 6-month long football off season to think about it and plan for it. So I don't have to make any decisions right now, but I do want to continue doing something on this channel to keep building the channel with football. So that I'll be, keeping you guys in the loop on Twitter, social media, and all that with what that's going to be. But that's kind of how I see the future going, and I've had a fantastic time with this show. It's grown ever since day one. Just the way we've changed our formats and the way we've implemented all these different kinds of segments. There's a lot of good content in there. Unfortunately, some of the episodes the audio got pooped on, so we have to some of the episodes are not recoverable, which is unfortunate, because we had an audio issue going on for a while that we actually weren't aware of until it had already been, I think, at least 10 or 15 episodes. So that's really sad for me. I wish we had had a record of everything that was preserved, but there's still a lot of good episodes there that are listenable, and that you guys can still go and enjoy. And I'll probably just out of nostalgia re-listen to pieces of them from time to time. I've enjoyed the time we've spent together, the hard work that went into making this show possible. And I think this will just be, for both of us, hopefully this show will be a springboard for greener pastures going forward. So that's my closing thoughts on the practice squad, our 72 episodes together, and I'll let Joseph give his final thoughts.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, it has been fun. There's been, I had gone back a couple months ago. Wow, more like this last summer actually, and Jeremy, you can imagine where I was last summer. I was trying to find a bunch of rants show to send someone to listen to get a feel for the show, and I had listened to, I think, the first several episodes, trying to find these different rant pieces and everything, and kind of funny listening to Um, I'm bringing up the change of the formats. I'm really glad that we kind of made an assessment each season about changes to make. I like the changes that we made. I look back and I think that obviously we started off more raw and get more polished, but we I'm glad that we made those improvements. I think that this year and last year was our best installment um of the show. Though I do like how rant, actually I was pretty rant heavy, but overall how rant um first season or two. I remember that first episode I was having I had to get like there was internet issues. I wanted to make sure I was connected to like landline and the oh my gosh, internet, what are those cords called? Ethernet cords. I think I only had like a foot long internet cord where I was living. So I had to have my laptop next to the modem router, and I was like sitting on this uncomfortable chair, leaning down, and I had papers and notes spread out on the floor. And we spent like over an hour and a half on that show, going over the trades and going over each team and just trades and free agency, and it just yeah, I just remember being just kind of a disaster and um, slowly improving on that. So um, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I can absolutely say, I don't know what the future holds, but Lord willing, however long we get more time to breathe on this world, I can with great confidence, minimum of 99%, that this will not be the last NFL related project that Jeremy and I do, whatever the scope is. I already have some ideas, and whether it's helping Jeremy, encouraging Jeremy, or things together, um, would love to get a chance to talk more about that. I have thought about some ideas. Um, I just life has been changing, and I think it's best for me to step aside right now, at least from this show, how it's and I'm involved. Um, I just want to end with quoting a verse here. It's 1 Corinthians 10, verse 31. I think for whatever you do everything for the glory of God. Um, and right now, that best looks like me not doing the show, but I can absolutely see Jeremy and I doing some project for whatever it would look like, I don't know, in the future for however long. And I want to focus on applying that verse better. But it's been fun, um, and I've appreciated the in-depth analysis that we've done. And I think I can speak for Jeremy, and when he says that it feels like we've been doing it longer, I think is what you said. I think a deeper reason for that is really mimics the reason why you wanted to do the show in the first place. We were doing this already informally between the two of us for years before this. And this really has been, like Jeremy said, probably in our first episode 4 years ago, a recording of our phone calls for this. So this is just a recording version of what we were doing for several years before 2018. So that's probably why it feels longer. Yeah, it's been fun.
Thanks, man. Well, appreciate your thoughts, and yeah, it's been a good ride, and I think the best way to look at as we close out tonight is that this is, like you said, not the end of everything. It's just the end of this chapter, and this project is coming to an end. But my hope is that the hard work and the thoughts and the time that went into this project can springboard into some new and cool things in the future. I just don't know what those things are. God only knows what those things are, and I'm excited thinking about what they could be. So thank you for co-hosting with me, Joseph. I've appreciated every minute, loved every minute. We've, those darn audio issues, those are never going to go away, but the just, whatever challenges we've had, the fun and enjoyment has way outweighed them. And I've just enjoyed all of the discussions and the experiences that we've had on this show. All right, so I get to do one more outro, our episode 72 outro, that I retooled a little bit just because I knew it was going to be our last episode of the season. But I get to say that's a wrap one more time. So that's a wrap. If you did not fall asleep during tonight's episode or any of our past episodes, please like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, as those are free ways for you to support this channel going forward. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Practice Squad and at Neuralizer for thoughts on off-season news, trade rumors, or just interesting football tidbits. By the way, I run that account. Joseph doesn't, so you'll be dealing with me. If whatever you say, you'll be dealing with me. Even though this podcast has come to an end, you can always watch or listen to past episodes right here on my YouTube channel. And of course, tonight's show will be available immediately after we go offline. Apologies for any choppiness in the audio. I think for the most part it came through. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you somewhere over the horizon.
Peace.